Hello there, and welcome to the ClueCon weekly podcast studio. And I'm here with Maksym, or Max as he's known. How are you doing today, Max?
Hey, David. Thank you. I'm doing good. How are you?
Very, very well. I'm super impressed by your T-shirt there, Max. The PBX man on the T-shirt there.
Yeah, it's very old T-shirt. We did a little PBX project. It started in 2005. So
right. It's very, very cool though, Max. It's a very cool shirt indeed. Now, where are you joining us from today, Max?
I'm joining from Vancouver, Canada.
What a great place to be. And are you in the main city or out on the island there?
No, I'm in the city, but I'm a little bit more into suburbs. I'm not really a fan of like downtown living, but it's not too far.
Right,
it's
yes.
Like half an hour of public transit or something.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a familiar city to me because my brother went to UBC there. And so I spent a few summers in Vancouver going to Granville Island and downtown and that kind of stuff. And since then, I've had beautiful holidays in Vancouver Island, went whale watching and all that kind of stuff because it is a fantastic part of the world to be. But it's great to have you joining us from there. But where are you originally from, Max?
Originally from Ukraine. I was born and raised in Dnipropetrovsk and then moved to Kiev to get my university degree. And spent little time in Kiev, living in Kiev, and then after finishing school, and then it was I was like 28 at the time, so I was looking at some cool place to live, perhaps. That's how I ended up in Vancouver. I went visited here before moving 2 times for some work.
Nice to hear a little bit of your story, and I'm particularly interested in the telecoms and VoIP part. How did you find your way into the world of SIP? Because of course you're very well known for some of the SIP projects that you've been involved in, as well as the RTP stuff as well. Of course, how did that all start?
It started in about late 2003, I would say. At the time, I was already out of school for several years, working at some like low-level jobs in like IT support role. And then I was quite involved in open source already at the time. I started got interested in my late years in university. I got interested in operating systems and discovered Unix as we have pretty good lab for the day. Some of the Hewlett-Packard Unix workstations, and anyway, so we had a few FreeBSD boxes at the time, so I kind of step by step started learning like operating systems and internals, and got involved in open source project to learn more. So yeah, I was already pretty involved, as I said, for several years, and then the opportunity came to join pretty small company at the time. They were looking at somebody to first it started as kind of project to build installer for the product that already existed, and the product was a billing solution for voice over IP. It was H323 pretty much based at the time. So we completed that project, and then my next task was to start looking at building a SIP server, for which I basically started reading like RFCs and trying to learn what is what.
So you're actually building your own SIP stack from scratch.
Yeah, we that kind of we ended up doing that, but we basically started looking at open source tools available at the time, and there was not many really. There was Asterisk, but it was more it was pretty ISDN kind of oriented, so it was more SIP part was not very
yes, those early
good,
days.
still. Yeah, and then we discovered OpenSIPS, or not OpenSIPS, or SIP Express router, which again was pretty early version, but it was functional for for whatever, for small easy tasks. So we started tinkering with that, and first issue that we kind of figured out that there were no support for NAT traversal of any kind. So that's where the effort went first to get that up and running. So basically ended up writing a module to help with that problem, which I called NAT helper.
NAT helper. That was your first open source contribution, as it were.
Yeah, for that particular project. As I said, at the time I was already contributing quite a lot of work towards FreeBSD project. So for the SIP Express router, we started with the NAT helper, and while working on that NAT helper, it kind of solved signaling problem. But sometimes in certain scenarios, you also would not have media passing through without actually having some kind of middleman. So that's kind of how the idea of RTP proxy came to be. Again, we started pretty basic, just like forwarding media and handling NAT. So there was not much functionality apart from that. And yeah, again, we contributed it back to the SIP Express router. At one point, it was even hosted, collocated with the same CVS repository, SIP Express router.
But RTP proxy exists as a kind of standalone project now, doesn't it? Because people can use it with a SIP server of their choice. Is that correct?
Yes. I think it was with the SIP Express router for maybe a year or two. After that, we decided that SIP Express router itself was not very kind of tailing off activity. For some reason, they kind of moved more into commercial space. So we kind of split off that into a separate project and continued developing it. So that was kind of RTP side of it. And yes, you mentioned I think around 2004, 2005, we started working on our own SIP stack. And the problem again, there were not many good B2B style open source projects around. So there was no dialogue module in SIP Express router at the time. As I said, FreeSwitch was probably in the early days as well. Asterisk was not really geared towards SIP still. So yeah, that's kind of how we started. We actually for about a year we tried to use. I don't know if you heard about it, Vavida B2BA. It was some project that Cisco has released as open source. But it was just a bunch of code, not very well structured, and it kind of worked, but there was no really people behind it who wanted to take it further. So we struggled a little bit with it, patched it. I still have those patches somewhere, a lot of them. And that's how I kind of went into creating my own B2B and started with the Python. Again, very simple at the beginning, but yeah, it grown grown quite a
Now,
bit over the
is
time.
that what's known as Sippy now?
Yes, well, there are like Sippy projects, Sippy B2B project, which we open sourced again pretty early, and that's the core B2B. Plus, from about 2006, we run like commercial operation, and that's mainly what we do. We pack and integrate some of the open source components. And provide small operators or medium-sized operators with kind of turnkey solution to handle reasonable amount of traffic, SIP traffic, and we've been SIP centric from pretty much day one. Unlike some other like switching solutions at the time. So yeah, it's kind of in a nutshell what we do.
Okay. And before we carry on, Max, just in case people are watching who are not hardcore SIP people, you mentioned B2B UA, the back-to-back user agent. Could you just give a little brief description of that and how it differs from a regular SIP server or SIP proxy, please?
Okay. Yeah, sounds like that's a pretty good question. The main difference between SIP proxy and B2B is B2B UA is looks like endpoint. So whenever you have B2B UA in the call path, it basically untangles one side from the other. Because if you use something like SIP proxy, a lot of the stuff that one side ends up on the other side. So if in the case when you're crossing like organizational boundaries, you would need something like B2BA, which they call SBC, pretty much in the telecommunication world, to only pass parts of the signaling that are relevant and in very controlled manner. So B2B basically gives you much more control over the call flow and what gets passed over and what's not. With the SIP proxy, there is much less choice, because a lot of the stuff that the RFP proxy does is kind of baked into RFC, so there's no easy way to kind of hide those parts, so you need to pass them through. And for that reason, SIP proxy works well within usually within organizational domains. So if you're within the same organization and you want to handle different scenarios, that's where you kind of proxy shines, because you have very little overhead. The downside of the B2BA is that it has to maintain all the state for 2 sessions. So you're essentially, doubling or maybe even quadrupling amount of effort needed to handle.
Yes, using a significantly larger number of resources. I know that both Kamailio and OpenSIPS, they're able to handle thousands or even tens of thousands of calls, whereas, of course, a B2B UA would be a smaller number on the same platform.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
But as I said, it's a trade-off, and B2B has much greater control over the scenarios, and I think, in my view, it's very essential to provide accurate billing and all that stuff, which our customers obviously require.
Yes, yeah, I know you operate in the world of providing services to people that need SIP stuff. Now, I understand that you've got a little presentation for us today, Max. What's that all about?
Oh, that's the project we started this year. It's more of event style scene, because what we found out over the years is, as organization we use a lot of different SIP tools to build our platform and our service. So it's very important all those tools can kind of interoperate easily within the SIP domain in particular. So we can basically receive call in OpenSIPS, send it to Kamailio or Asterisk or who have B2BA, and have all the parts work together as a system seamlessly. And especially this is important as SIP develops. So new extensions are introduced, such as Steer and Shaken, for example, which everybody talks about this year, or some other work that they do to improve authentication protocols, so you can use modern ways to authenticate users like OAuth or at least better hashing algorithms. So for that part, at the early days of the SIP, or not early, like the first 10 years of the SIP, they were doing pretty good industry-wide interoperability gatherings. I think it started even like several times a year. They were getting people together from big and medium, small companies who built SIP kind of devices and SIP software, and tested that everything works. So like you can send calls from here to there.
This is the SIPIT meetings in places like Monaco and stuff like that. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah. They pretty famous at the day, but it had its downsides. It was quite industry centric, so it was not easy for small guys, and we're still small guys to this day, and we're even smaller back then to get in with our SIP stuff. So at the end of the day, the first and the last time we've been able to get to SIPIT was in 2015. It was in New Hampshire. Pretty cool place.
Right.
It's University of New Hampshire. They have pretty decent interoperability laboratory, as like whole building with like electrical and where they basically get all kind of devices from manufacturers and test them for compliance or for whatever.
Yeah, absolutely necessary, because although people, claim to follow the RFC or follow the standards, and if you put them together, you're going to actually make a phone call. When you get down into the weeds and look at the more esoteric parts of it, very often there's incompatibilities that need to be revealed by coming together and testing things out.
Yeah. But what I said, they have like it for not only for SIP but for the whole industry, electrical and other stuff. But anyway, so we've been there. We liked it. We actually met. I think the first time I met some of the people from the Asterisk people were there, like Joshua, I think, some other guys. Some people from like companies. I don't think we have met any other open source people there. But I heard Bogdan was on one of those in 2012 or something.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway, we liked it, but as I said, and we would definitely go next year, but that was the last one. They kind of stopped doing it.
Fair enough. Although I think recently, weren't you doing some interop testing with Ulla Johansson?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. So after waiting for it to resume maybe, and even I poked Ollie a few times, and he was also the guy I met in 2015 in New Hampshire in person. We've been obviously knowing each other by name over the years on various lists, but anyway, I've been poking him, asking if it's going to be will resume at any time, but it did not happen. So this year we decided to kind of take more active approach, and instead of waiting for it some other people to do it, we like kind of took it to ourselves.
Yes, fair enough. Okay, well, look, you've got the slides there. I'm going to pop your slideshow on and leave you there to go through it. Well, when I say leave you, I'm not leaving. I'm going to be here. I may ask some questions as we go through, but I'm going to pop it over now, and so everybody can see your slides. There we go.
Oh yeah, thanks, David. All right, let me. Okay. Oh yeah, I'll skip it. The introduction.
That was a very much younger Max just there, then, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's actually my first. I think it's 2015 or 2004 or something like that. And you can see like Cisco.
Little SPA type thing. Yeah,
this was actually device. We got it. We got actually one from Vonage, and it was programmed to their network, so we had to reset it and reconfigure.
Yeah, although the phone on your desk, Max, looks like a Panasonic SDBS, the small digital business system there.
Oh yeah. There was that PBX system in my back.
Right.
Little system in that office. So that I was just doing kind of IT support work for that small company. So I installed it. Well, not me installed. We basically obviously hired some people to install that PBX. But I used the phone to hook it up to that Cisco ITA. Anyway, all time. So yeah, there are a few things that I done for open source projects, voice over IP open source projects over the years. Apart from code contributions, I also got pretty involved in OpenSIPS summits. Since about 2017, I was helping to do like online coverage on YouTube Live from Amsterdam. As you might remember, I met you, David, I think few times.
Yeah, indeed. And the thing I remember is when you, I don't know whether it was the first time I met you there, but you had some hardware, maybe some Raspberry Pis and some other things that you were running there.
Yeah, we done a little bit of toy cluster setup for the. I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago, just to demonstrate that you can build. You can not only run OpenSIPS on like huge systems handling like billions of calls essentially, but you can also use it to build like smaller type of solutions on embedded systems, or maybe not embedded, but like Raspberry Pi style system, which still could provide like local routing logic for a sizable amount of organization, and obviously it's cheap, and you can build it pretty much redundant, so you can replace parts with ease. So anyway, that's kind of nutshell. On the commercial side, we've been running a company, as I said, since 2006 with some of the colleagues of mine, and it's been keeping us busy, and we basically use it as a way of supporting ourselves and our contribution to open source as well. So as I mentioned, interop was a little bit missing in the past several years. There are some pictures from my only OpenSIPIt involvement in 2016. And you can actually see only on the left there some other graders whose name I don't remember. So this year, as I said, we kind of decided, since nobody is doing it, we'll do it ourselves. And as a part of it, we got together with some of the colleagues. Giovanni Maruzelli was quite enthusiastic and very helpful in particular to kind of and all that. We kind of little bit changed the focus of the event. So since the open source, I mean, if you look at the how it progressed since early 2000s, open source, in particular in the telecommunication industry, it took over pretty much commercial solutions in a way that we still have commercial solutions, but more and more they are built with open source as kind of base.
Yeah.
And it's very, very good because people don't really need to reinvent the wheels. And SIP is, even though it's pretty well defined and good protocol, it requires quite an effort to get implemented correctly. So in a way, it's also pretty good for the industry as a whole that we have all those tools that everybody leverages. So this is basically why we want to make it interoperability more geared towards open source projects. So we want to make it more affordable and more accessible for small teams and the individuals, because usually open source projects are, with very few exceptions, they're quite smaller than your typical, Cisco or Alcatel size organization. So we want them to be accessible for everyone pretty much. We also kind of did not like the fact that original SIPIt was pretty closed event, even though they still published a lot of stuff. They also try to protect like vendors from like bad rep or something. And also obviously there might be some security implications and all that. So since we're all based on open source, we think we don't really care that much about that part. So we basically want it to be live and accessible to everyone. Basically that's the idea for OpenSIPIt, and we issued invitation to like some of the people that we knew over the years. So OpenSIPS project was pretty supportive, and thanks to Bogdan and Razvan and Livio. They were really helpful to get it organized. And then we also included some of the people that we just knew with smaller SIP tools like Dractio.
Dave Horton.
He's a great guy and very technical overall. We assembled several teams, and we would love to have more teams, but really kind of was not the focus to get everything in the first event. And we actually did not have much of experience, so we didn't want to like kind of disappoint everyone if we don't.
Yes. Understandable on that first go round. Max, before we carry on, can you just go back to that previous slide, because I just wanted to highlight that last bullet point, the one before that, please. That oh no, maybe a little bit back. That's the one. Yeah, that last paragraph there. All code modifications and complete configurations committed to the competition secretariat and made open source at the end of the competition. I thought that's very important because that's truly the kind of democratization of these things and allowing even people who weren't part of this interoperability get together to recreate things afterwards. So very, very impressive and very community focused. That's really good.
Yes, that's thank you for saying that, David. We actually got it implemented to some extent. So I can show you quickly. So for the benefit of people who are watching this, we created this small repository, and it has some of the configurations that we use for scenarios, and actually it was very helpful for myself as well, because after that first OpenSIPIt, we actually went on, and right now I'm working on adding RFC 8760 into OpenSIPS. So some of the configurations that was contributed by Livio was quite helpful for me later on, so I don't have to recreate it myself. So yeah, but yes, that's pretty much one of the goals, and I think we're on the right track here. Anyway, going back to my presentation. So yeah, there are a lot of other stuff that we would like to do, but we have not really got to doing it in the first run. We would really, at some point, would really like to have some load testing as part of it. Also, another interesting thing that we can do is to test different implementation, how they handle with the packet loss and high latency and all that, which is important, especially with the as we have some kind of network problems. Your packet loss and latency might just jump and up and down. So it's very important that all those implementation can handle all this. And last but not least, we want to have fun too. So yeah.
Very important. The more fun you have, the more gets done.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we're all kind of geeks, so I guess it's part of the thrill. There are some networks topologies that at the first event we did not really get into testing any of it, but at some point we would really like to have it tested as well. But the idea is that we run it unlike original SIPIt, where people would bring like physical pieces of hardware or anything like that. One of the things that we do differently in OpenSIPIt is basically we get everyone on into the cloud. So we set up several instances on AWS and shoot the traffic between them, and it proven to be a pretty good approach, because then we can basically encapsulate each team into its own environment, and everybody can use whatever tools they're comfortable with. So it worked pretty well first time around. So again, that's a list of teams that went into participating into the first event, and as I mentioned, we did not really try to get everyone under the sun. Basically, we approached mostly people who we knew in person. But in the next event, we would definitely love to have more projects, particularly for which some of the core developers participating would be a great idea. I also hope to have Asterisk guys to be participating. I invited them last time, but they were busy preparing for the AstriCon.
Right.
Anyway, that's some of the things that we achieved in that first try. So we did pretty good progress on RFC 8760 testing, which is SIP adding modern hashes into SIP digest authentication. For people who don't know about this problem, but that original SIP RFC obviously dates back to the 2001, 2003. So it has MD5 as a primary and the only method to do secure authentication. And as some might know, MD5 is not very secure these days with all the advances that has been made in like CPU technology and GPU technology, and just overall, I think people try to move away from MD5 to something better. So we've seen at least 5 implementations of this RFC in various stages of completion. So David Horton been able to pretty much code it on the spot, and big cheers to him. Really, it was really impressive.
Great stuff.
We made improvements in implementations that were already present. Little tiny details which kind of pretty critical. If you don't get them right, it looks fine, but it just doesn't work when you put it against another implementation. And the funny part about implementing some like authentication schemes is that usually you test it with your own product, and if you have the same problem on both ends, it kind of works. So you need you need some independent verification to actually find that bug. So that went pretty well. I also went on the second day. It was 2-day event. We basically get everyone together for 3 hours or so 2 days. So first day we did RFC 8760, and the next day we tried to do stir shaking. Obviously that's quite bigger or more how to say more advanced set of protocols.
That's a whole kind of big set of moving parts in different places, whereas RFC 8760 is quite nice and compartmentalized, isn't it, compared with that?
Yes, exactly. And RFC 8760 builds on what we already have in main SIP RFC. So and basically just add some. But for the stir shaking is a whole new kind of thing that we did not have before. So we tried to set up some test scenarios, and we had OpenSIPS, Kamailio, and also some of our SIP B2B Golang implementation. And we tried to patch up together some test scenarios. We need more work on that, say that. But at the end of the day, yes, we learned quite a lot. And as I showed before, we had some scripts in that small repository. So we hope to return this in the next run.
The great thing about such a gathering is even if you can't fix things at the time, you come away understanding much better what the problem is in the first place, don't you?
Yeah, and you learn quite a lot how it works and what is involved in that particular thing. So well, right now pretty much we're working on a bigger bigger event or more organized event. We already discussed with Oli and other people what went well, what did not go that well. So we're hoping to. Originally, we planned to do like once a year or something, but it looks like it might be better to have more occasions for smaller kind of more focused. So we're probably looking at doing it 2 to 3 times a year and go from there. The next one we hope to do in January next year. Unlike the first one, again, the idea will be to stage it better. So instead of having like setting up everything and do in one long session, 3-year session, we'll probably split it up into like prep session where we get together, like set everything up, define scenarios, and we let people work on setting it up, and then we gather together next day and test it and move on from there. As I mentioned, we definitely would love to have more more people participating, and just make it more organized and hopefully better structured event next time. We set up some of the resources that people can use. There are also some links to if you want to see actual event as it went. It's all public.
Great, good set of resources there. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any way to attach it to that YouTube video, I will be glad to share a presentation or just the links, David. So yeah, that's kind of my little presentation about OpenSIPIt, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Well, no questions in particular, but just the observation that it's a great thing to be doing. I'm just going to pop us back over there. People will be able to pause on this picture if they want to get those links, and we'll endeavour to get them into the YouTube description as well. But let's just bring it back to you and me. And no, I was just going to comment, Max, what a great idea to do. I mean, I guess looking back, SIP interoperability should really have been something that was more open in the first place, and not, as you described, having that kind of vendor lock-in. But the fact that you and Ule and other people have taken this seriously enough to put something more open together is an excellent step in the right direction. And although SIP has been around a while, there's still much room for interoperability testing, the different stacks that are out there and the different endpoints and things. So hats off to you. That's a really good step, and it's very positive. And I will, of course, be talking to the FreeSwitch team to see if we can find the resources to participate in that next time around.
Yeah, very thank you very much, David, for that. That would be really helpful. And yeah, not only that, also, as I said, SIP is pretty much live protocol, right? It gets developed as we have more focus on security. So we're really hopeful to get to use some of the tools. Olive built some of the great tools for the previous SIPIT. So we're really hopeful to have him participate more next time with TLS testing, if nothing else. But just overall kind of helping us to structure it better. He's great guy.
Yeah, very much. And there's a subject in itself, isn't it? TLS 1.3 and all that kind of stuff. Well, but we'll leave that for now. Max, I want to say a very big thank you for coming along and talking to us. We're coming towards the end of our time together, but is there anything else that you would like to mention or talk about before we close the session for today?
No, not really. Well, thank you, David, again for letting me speak and reach out with those ideas to wider audience. Definitely interoperability and ability to integrate those tools is very important for many people. So we really hope to make it easier over the time and going forward in general.
That's excellent. Yeah, it's a real community service as well, Max. And thank you very much for taking the time to come in. And I hope I get to see you again soon. And of course, you're always welcome on the ClueCon Cafe every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. It's just a place to hang out. And so we'd welcome you there. But for now, Max, I want to say thank you very much. And we'll see you again next time, hopefully at an in real life event and online, of course. Thank you so much.
One day. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
All the best.